Cage Lawyer.
Yo. It is the Fractional Report before the opening bell, brought to you by Collectable. But it's going to be really before the opening bell because here we are Sunday night of Labor Day weekend, and tomorrow's a holiday. So we're going to get this out there, and it'll probably only be a 4-day trading week because of the holiday. So it'll be really before the opening bell for you guys. And, we came on here, we got the data, and Andrew said, hey, why don't we mix it up? I didn't get to hear what his idea is, but we're just going to, on the fly, just figure out whether or not there's an interesting way of kind of doing this stuff, which is I like, because I got to tell you, I got a lot of messages today.
Really?
A lot of messages today. And even though yesterday's episode is, a portion of it, a segment of it is PWCC, weekly episode.
Okay.
People love that we're just idiots bullshitting again.
Right.
People missed it. I got a lot of messages like, hey, you could tell you're back. You're back at, well, I mean, it's not so hard if you look at it on YouTube. I got a brick wall behind me. So, it doesn't make you a genius to guess that I'm back home. But, yeah, we're back. People just missed us being us, which, I guess comes with big balls and flying Chick-fil-A sandwiches and whatever else that entails. But let's start it off a little different instead of just jumping into the data, because we'll get the data. You went to a card show today. Tell me about the vibe of the show. Tell me what you saw at the show. Did you leave feeling good about the hobby, bad about the hobby, indifferent about the hobby? Because I always leave shows feeling a certain way about the future of these collectibles.
It's a lot of pressure, by the way. My parents watch the show now.
Mm.
I called them on the way home from the show. I was like, they were at a wedding this weekend, and I was like, what's going on? How's the wedding? And they're like, Andrew, what do you think we were watching? We were just watching you and the Kayla Collects episode.
Yes.
So know that you watch. That's a lot of pressure. But
I got some comments. People said they couldn't believe that I made a Zach Wilson joke. I was like, I mean, this is just me. Whether it's Kayla or Sam or
honestly,
Shyway Vlogs or whatever it is.
I could not believe that he made that joke either. I think you guys should go back and watch my face, because I didn't know what to say next, but I mean, it lightens the mood.
It's a hobby joke. It's a card joke. I mean, whatever. It is what it is.
What do I think?
Los hermanos. Go. Let's go. What do you think of the show?
Gage, the hobby. What I think is cool about the hobby is the community aspect, right? Like, I think you kind of know everybody at this point, right? When times are good, you have all these new participants coming in chasing money. Mm-hmm. A lot of them leave. You remember we had like a whole stretch where in 2021 you were worried that, like, if we don't do things the right way, a lot of people will leave.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they did.
But it does also kind of, it shows you who's there for the right reasons, and it allows you to kind of build these long-lasting relationships. So at the end of the day, I feel that we have a strong community, right? Like, how they say every card needs to find a collector at the end of the day. After all the flippers and investors, there has to be a collector, or this card is not valuable, right?
Yep.
I also kind of feel that about the hobby. Like, at the end of the day, when all the people who are chasing money leave, the strength of the community is what stays. It's like, do you really like hanging out with these people? Do you like shooting the shit with kids? Do you like the banter and talking sports? I think the hobby is growing. I really do. I think people want to be there. I think there's a lot of father-son duos, a lot of mother-son, or father-daughter duos, actually. I saw a few more of those at the show, where like a father set up with, sports cards. Girl has like the pop culture, and then the son is Pokemon. Like, literally that was there. So
that's good.
I feel good, man. And I like when I challenge myself and get out of the house and, go meet people. It's so fun. So I want to do more of it. I really do.
Well, hobbies. I mean, I got to tell you, if anybody wants to send me a couple $1 million, I could retire. I'll go to every show. I'll be at Dallas. I'll be at Burbank. I'll be at Chantilly.
Don't write checks that you're
Chantilly lace and a pretty face. I will listen. Somebody sends me a couple millions. They can write the checks for me. That's how it works.
Vaguely non-specific. What is a couple?
Couple's $2
million.
I would take 2. I mean, if somebody gave me $2 million now, yes, that would be enough. I would go to card shows. 100%.
That's the ask. It's like, hey, here's $2 million. Go to card shows.
I mean, it's not going to happen. So we're in La La Land here. We got a little echoes in La La Land. I don't know if you could hear it. It's probably my headphones, because I mess that up. I mess it up, man. I do. I'm the worst. Now I still have echoes. It's me. It's not you. I still have echoes. Now I don't have echoes. Oh, man. I don't want you on mute. I don't want you to be sad. Get off mute.
I'm not on mute. All right, so let's go through the
Hey,
data.
you did it. No, wait. 2
Okay.
million. That's enough. But I don't. Maybe 3, maybe 7. I'm not. It is what it is. Before you go through the data, you said you wanted to do something differently. Our portfolio is exactly the same. We jumped in with $1,000 2 weeks ago. It's exactly the same. I can post a picture of it again. We have not traded. And let me explain why. And this is the different way. Liquidity is a huge, huge, huge thing on this platform. I now have I consider a significantly better understanding of the wild swings that you and I talk about on the show that really are not wild swings. They're the difference between the bid and the ask on these items. There are Mahomes cards the bid and the ask has such a huge spread that if somebody buys one share at the ask as opposed to one share at the bid, the valuation of the card moves 20-30% in the value.
And in real dollar terms, that's like one share.
In real dollar terms, it could be $10.
One share for 10.
Move it. Yeah, I mean, so it's something that's very important to discuss. It's something I don't think gets discussed enough because we're trying to fit this asset class right now into something that's akin to stocks, right? And we always told you guys, as we learn, as we become better at this stuff, we'll share that knowledge with you. I was looking this week for opportunities to trade some of the assets that we have. Like, is there a bid? What if I put my ask in and put it in slightly lower? But there's no real trading going on. There were a couple of shares that traded hands of the items we have. Some of them didn't trade at all. I mean, you look at some of the items in our portfolio, you'll see basically a flat line for the whole week, or they traded at 1 or 2 or 3 shares. The liquidity for active trading is not there, and that's fine because if you remember when I purchased the items I purchased, there were some that were in a lead up to vintage, to the mantle. I have these other vintage, and maybe those will move, but they were all items that I said I would not mind holding for a longer term, and that I realized that the liquidity is not there, and that I'm not looking for a way to quickly get my money out. And what I've learned is that if you are looking to get money in and quickly get money out, that as it currently is constituted, this is not that platform.
Right. It's a double risk, right? Like
I'm not saying Collectable, I'm not saying anything Collectable doesn't know.
Right. Well, they have to fix it. They have to work on it. But doesn't that feel a little bit like a double risk? So you have the risk of the underlying thing that you buy, regardless of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have
a risk of not being,
which is okay. Which is okay. I've been thinking a lot about equity in cards,
mm-hmm.
right? So like when I think about like someone's Zion case, right? Like use that. It's not like they think about these cards individually. At the end of the day, it's like a blend of, it's a portfolio.
Yep.
And when you're into assets and they've gone up 10, 20, 40, 60, 100%, you know that you have equity in it, right? Like it's easier to make deals.
Yep.
I think what worries me a little bit about Fractional, I'm curious how they're going to fix it in the next 2, 3, 4 years, is that liquidity, not being able to take your money out is a very scary feeling because not only do you lose money when you buy, you also lose money trying to get out quickly.
Right. The money that's in is money that you it's very difficult to actually get out. So, and it's one of the questions that, that gets asked, what are you investing for? And if it's like immediate liquidity, I don't think it is the platform yet for you. And it explains some of the data. I'll let you jump into it. I want to just take 2. Number 1,
sure.
It's a lot of the reason why Andrew and I talk about, hey, look at what was down and it'll be up. Look at the things that are the most 3 down and there'll be some of the most 3 up. Well, that's because the difference between being on the high up and the low down is 1 share, 10 shares, 5 shares being bought at the bid as opposed to the ask, or somebody accepting someone's bid and it closing at that share with that spread between because of the lack of liquidity. And a perfect example this past week was one of the ones that we talked about last week was the Kobe Bryant 2016 game-worn Black History sneakers, which were down almost 40% last week, were up almost 40% this week. That's more of a lack of liquidity, not as much trading, but it being trading at more of an ask than the bid. And it's not, wow, this week something crazy happened with Kobe game-worn sneakers, because the number 1 decliner this week happens to be a pair of Kobe game-worn sneakers. down 32%. The Kobe Bryant 03 game-worn signed Jordan 12 French Blue sneakers. Now, that just means that somebody either lowered their ask or somebody sold at a bid that was lower. And the reason why we may see that one spring into the top gainers next week is because somebody may buy 1 or 2 shares at the ask instead, seeing that this is now, quote unquote, down. So it's an interesting thing. I'll let you go through the data in a second, but before we do that, one other thing that we talked about last week that I want to go back to and make sure everybody is, fully apprised was one of the things that I wanted to see. And I remember I made a guess about what would happen going forward after that huge Mickey Mantle sale that ultimately sold for $12.6 million. I was afraid that the run-up that people were expecting to see on the PSA 7 and the PSA 8 was not going to happen. And I thought there might even be a little bit of a sell-off because people were jumping into it ahead of that sale so that they could just sell that week. And if everybody's buying it just to sell, then you can't sell. You know what I mean? If everybody's buying it, there's going to be a bunch of people looking to sell it. And look what happened this week. Instead of that 9.5 SGC at Heritage 12.6, moving the 7 and the 8 up, that 7 had already run a lot. The 8 had already moved from, high 1.1s to 1.3. The 7 had already jumped significantly, even before that sale and even before the SGC 5 that sold for $300,000 or whatever it was. There was already run up. I know this because a couple weeks ago when I put our portfolio together, that 7 was one I was looking at buying, but it had already run weeks in advance. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that 7 was flat this week and the 8 was actually down slightly. Basically, they're both flat. So it
buy the hype, sell the news.
Pretty much, right? I mean, I would say that the hype here might have been the time to sell as people were getting in ahead of this news, because now you might see in the next week the people who got in looking to take advantage of increased demand and liquidity after that $12.6 million sale. They don't see it. They may look now to exit, especially on the 7, because the 7 had more of a run up. So you might actually see those cards come down. And what's weird is a card that didn't have a run up but is in the same category, and I think the same thing happened. People saw the Mantle 9.5 52 tops go up for auction. They said, hey, let's buy the 7 and the 8. And those ran. The next one that people didn't look at until this past week, there's a 51 Bowman rookie in SGC 7, which was the top increase, up 49% this week. So, again, I don't know whether people are expecting, it's Heritage maybe? There are a lot of Mantles coming out of the woodwork. I think Heritage announced, what's coming. I think there's like 9 different Mantles. Some of them are Burke Raw, some of them are lower end and lower grade. But, when we talked about this, the Mantles come out of the woodwork.
This is a pattern that I learned so well from Cage, and I appreciate it, man, because I remember you played it out for us with the Jordan, but this happens in a lot of these cards that you see that are very similar, where they run, a supply shock hits the market, it drags or kind of stifles that momentum short term, finds a new kind of trading point, and then it shoots up again. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, you could kind of see my wheels are spinning as Cage is doing that analysis. I'm thinking, what's the news that's coming next? How can we get ahead of it? Because with PWCC, you guys know I'm like, I blanket, I buy, 150 cards, but that you can't be like you can't go crab fishing here. I feel like Collectable and Fractional is more of being a sniper. And guys, entering the NBA season, I think if we look forward, LeBron needs 49 games to pass Kareem. What's going to be the media storm? What's going to be the news? So 49 games. Let's take that into consideration. Okay, well, that's going to be right around Super Bowl time. Okay, football season is going to be done from a card perspective. Baseball is not going to be starting up. That media storm is going to be all NBA. All NBA, no soccer, nothing else is really going to be conflicting with it, right? I think now is a very interesting time to take a look and get ahead of LeBron cards. Thoughts?
I mean, we own a LeBron in our portfolio. The EX, the one that's numbered out of 102, I think is what it is. We own that LeBron card. Just to make sure everybody's aware of that. I own several LeBron cards. I did not own LeBron cards before this year. I started buying them for exactly the reason you're talking about. We've seen it time and time and time again. When the news cycle is there, the cards run. Just go back to what I consider a less relevant record that Steph Curry set last year. Curry's cards went on fire, but he also won a championship. Yep. They were already running when he set the three-pointer record.
Well, that's a great thing. Now we have two news, right? So picture this. So one thing we're for sure, he's going to pass Kareem. 49 games, 42, 65, whatever. Okay. And I think when it's more imminent, that's when you're going to see the run-up. I think you guys are going to see some huge LeBron cards hit the market right in January. Right as that is imminent that he's going to beat Kareem's record. But now let's add something onto that. What if the Lakers are doing extremely well?
That's right.
What if they're a 3rd seed? What if they're a 2 seed? We're out here counting them out, but they have a fantastic, talented team. Right. They just didn't mesh. So it's really interesting.
Street code has to stay healthy.
Right. But it's possible. It's like
100%.
What percentage would you say that the Lakers finish in a top 4 seed? Give me a percent to that.
Better now that the Jazz are imploded. I mean, that's a team that was a perennial top 4 seed, right? Who knows what Kawhi does when he comes back? What do I think?
20%?
Right now, I might even give him more than that.
Okay.
I might even give him more than that, definitely. But what you're talking about is an exit, a potential
So think about that. 95% chance that LeBron breaks Kareem's record this season. 30% chance that they finish in the Final Four. If either of those things that's happened, it's already good. If both of those things happen, you have Curry breaking the 3-point record, and you have the Warriors overperforming expectations. If I was somebody on the other end, I wouldn't think of this as the analogy I use of crab fishing. Let's go after all of these assets. I'd be a sniper. And I would be a sniper when it comes to LeBron because I do think it's the best play out the market.
I think you're smart. And you have to look no further than this past week or two with Serena Williams. Swan Song, going after a record, but it's really less about the record. It's more about, she was just in the news playing the U.S. Open, playing well, and all of a sudden her cards are on fire again. It's the same type of thing. News cycle, right? And I think you're right. The LeBron play, there's almost, as long as he stays healthy, there's almost
the guy
a guarantee.
Step Brothers? What's the actor that's not Will Ferrell?
John C. Reilly.
Well, he plays in Hollywood Showtime Lakers. And he talks, there's like a cool scene in the beginning. I think it was like episode 8 or 9. It's called the Swan Song. And he says right before Swan dies, it sings this most beautiful, beautiful tune. Did you know that? That's why it's called a Swan Song.
I did not. This is not a Swan Song. No, you don't know that song? Little Swan.
No.
Swan.
But right before it's like its last song. It says its last hurrah. It's beautiful.
Swan Song. It was in the Alita Battle Angel movie. Swan.
Why is everything a movie for you? Not a show.
I think it's what's her name? Dua Lipa. I think it's a Dua Lipa.
She can't
song.
dance or sing, but she's like this phenomenal. I can't figure her out, guys. I've literally watched hundreds of her videos. When something is like I can't figure out, it's like it becomes
that's it. I just give up on it.
And you know what Instagram has done? In my suggested, they won't stop showing me her. And I'm like, she's so awkward.
When
she
it comes on, you watch
dance.
it. That's what happens. It's an algorithm.
She's lip syncing, but they love her. And I'm like, what is happening?
I mean, listen, man, it's a lot of fun. You mentioned the Trevor Lawrence 21 Leaf Pro Set rookie SGC 10 gold basket last week. It's up. I think that's an odd thing. I really do because, it's up 40%. It was one of our top 3 gainers. I don't know that any SGC 10s golds have been graded since. And it's little conspiracy theories, abound. There were a lot of SGC 10 golds submitted by most likely one person because that's how Collectable most likely got this, and then there haven't been any since. So it's an interesting thing there. It's an odd card. I love the Pro Set kind of throwback on it. I think that's more of the fact that this is the last Sunday without football, and people are looking for Trevor Lawrence to maybe explode. Again, it doesn't mean that it was a huge volume of trading on this. It means somebody bought into it, most likely at whatever full ask was. You know what? Here's the best comparison because we can definitely do a 101 for folks. Maybe even bring in some of the other assets that Collectable has available. Maybe bring in some people who might not be the biggest fans of Collectable and Fractional. People, who are on Twitter and follow these episodes. I think you know who you are as you're listening to this. We'd love to have you on and kind of do like a nuts and bolts 101, try to explain this stuff. But for bid and ask, full ask, when I say somebody probably just clicked accept at full, it's almost like for the folks who are listening out there now who are hobbyists, if you see something on eBay that is buy it now or best offer, think of it as like paying full ask on it, just hitting buy it now instead of making an offer, instead of putting a bid in on it and seeing if somebody sold at that bid price. You know what I mean? There's a spread. So we can do a little better than that. I'm just trying to make sure everybody understands that could be the explanation for these wild swings. This 30% increase is somebody just clicking buy it now, basically for full price, when previously it was being sold at almost like a best offer price. You know what I mean? So does that make sense to you?
Dude, I'm the more I'm doing this hobby thing, I'm just trying to find my niche and be laser focused with blinders of like what I do well and what I don't. Like there's a lot of like hanky panky accounts there that we support, and a lot of like really detailed data researchers like Pancake Analytics. There's a guy on Twitter like MNT or something like that. They do an amazing job.
Yep,
I am
M2,
not that
yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
I can't do that stuff. I wish I could. I respect people that do, but I couldn't. But I'm more of a gut with like I try to find data and support.
I love those guys, by the way, who do the analysis. I think the liquidity will come, the trading will come, and confidence in the platforms will come because there are people out there who are, watching and reporting on this stuff. So, I mean, it's an important function, and I think we should get them involved in sort of an education type of thing as well. So, anyway, if you are listening to this, and you probably are, reach out to us. Maybe we'll figure out a way to shoot.
With just the education space, I don't think this has hit me recently. Cards aside, the education space in 10, 20 years is going to be so different. The online education is huge. It's just in its infancy because people are starting to realize college is a sham. And they're looking for real money-making tangible skills. And if you could shift your negativity to education, I think it could be huge. There's a lot of people out there.
Drexel, he doesn't mean it. He had a great education.
I could have taken 6 classes. Econ is the most important.
I mean, nobody told you to sign up for underwater basket weaving in your junior year.
I'll say, here's the class I'd make people take. Econ, public speaking, okay? Econ, public speaking, something with data science, just like intro to data science and understanding. Dance class. Those would be the...
Oh, dance, salsa?
Absolutely. And then and an improv. That would be like a well-rounded curriculum for me.
So my younger brother called me up after 2 years of college. He'll probably deny that we had this call, but whatever, it is what it is. 2 years of college, you have to declare a major your third year. So you can basically mess around and major in beer your first 2 years, but you got to come up with something by the third year.
You got to put something on that sheet.
He says, what should I do? And I said, you should major in economics with a minor in sociology. Because no matter what you end up wanting to do, you're studying people and money and how they work together. Sociology, economics. So I don't know whether he listened to me or not, but that's what I told him. This was, big brother advice. Meanwhile, my major,
I would add philosophy to my
politics, philosophy, and the law was my major, by the way. That was my major in college. Politics,
how do they define
philosophy,
politics?
And the law. It was basically a political science with a philosophy, minor to it. It was what they called pre-law without calling it pre-law. If anyone who was in politics, philosophy, and law were basically pre-law students. But yeah, I did a lot of philosophy courses. I was actually a graduate TA, a teacher assistant, like a pretty high level, 400 level philosophy course. It's good. It's fun.
I like philosophy. I think it's cool. I really do. Like I enjoy that. Politics to me is like unathletic people who want to argue about stuff, but they don't like sports. That's kind of what I think of politics.
Well,
like listen, they're still like sport, like they're still competitive, but like they're not good enough to play sports, so we're gonna argue about other shit.
They have rules. There's rules of the game, right? The Roberts rules, and I'm
not sure we agree to
and all that stuff.
Everyone agrees to different rules in politics.
It's sort of like baseball. Different stadiums. It's sort of like grading cards.
Exist.
Different rules for every grader.
I've been getting a lot of messages about tag grading. I'm looking forward to trying them. Have you seen their scale?
You're it.
You're so dumb. What do you think about that?
Those guys, they have to, at the National, they have to set up a game of tag with all of the hobby influencers and just have people just darting through the aisles.
Honestly,
like do it after the national
can't run?
closes. Do it after it closes. Like after it closes. Like right when it closes, instead of a trade night, so that there's no kids and moms and dads and like Zion cases, and they're just in the national, like running aisle to aisle.
So Jesse
like,
Rhodes doesn't trample four 12-year-olds.
Exactly. So there's going to be a base. Maybe the Whatnot booth is base. They could sponsor the Whatnot base tag by tag grading. Like if they're not going to do that, if they're not going to come up with that and like run a game of tag, then what is with the name? Tag. I mean, it's already a watch brand, acronym. Right? It's already a watch. So you stealing a watch? Are you a watch?
No, tag? But that's tag humor.
Yeah.
Cage, were you in the stop
tag
that's grossing me out. Did you play Capture the Flag ever?
No, but I did play Steal the Bacon.
Or like Manhunt. I
stole a lot of it. Yeah, of course I played Manhunt, man. We all thought we were ninjas.
How sick, man! That was so. I miss those days. Like,
tag grading. I get a little finder's fee on that. When you do tag at the national, let's go. Let's give me my money.
It'd be sick.
It'd be amazing. That'd be the best content ever.
I can't see how somebody doesn't get injured in that scenario.
Which would make even better content.
There needs to be a med staff on file. Okay.
I mean, what's tag? I mean, a TAG. What does it mean? Like what? I mean,
what does any of this mean? PSA, public service announcement. SGC,
professional sports authenticators.
Okay, SGC,
sports
super grading authorities.
Guarantee, right?
Oh,
I mean, yeah, sports card guarantee, right? So what's tag? What is it like?
Traditional grading approach.
That would be TG, not tag.
But, right.
But thank you, Drexel. Money well spent. That spelling class you took in sophomore year really paid off. TG.
I like that. That has a better ring to it, actually.
Yeah, TG grading.
But sniper. So if I was sniping at something else, I would be sniping at Mahomes, man. I still think we don't totally understand Mahomes' greatness yet. Like, if you look at what he's done, he has more playoff wins, which in the NFL wins better, than like Brett Favre, Dan Marino, all these guys. Like, he's in that category in year 5. Year 5, okay? Yeah. So he's still more than likely going to play for a very long time. He's playing under who I think is the second best coach, not even a question of all time, probably the best. I love Andy Reid. I'm biased. So amazing coach, amazing system, amazing fan base, already has more wins or approaching the wins of Brett Favre, Dan Marino in the playoffs, all that. His worst season last year was better than Josh Allen's best season. And you have his Immaculate Shield that was down 27%. It's actually not down as much, like Cage just explained the bid and ask, but it's a gorgeous card. It's a gorgeous card with the Nike swoosh logo. So you're kind of trading a little bit with Nike's brand, which I think always helps. I'll pull this card up. It's a gorgeous card. Gorgeous. What do you think about authentic, by the way? Cards that are graded authentic. Any thoughts? Because that's what this one is.
I would say basically anything that's going to grade less than a 6, I don't have a problem with it being authentic. And one of ones, I have no problem with being authentic, no matter what the grade is, because that, I don't think a 1-on-1 needs to be slabbed. The only reason you put it in a slab is so that potential buyers know that it's an authentic card and that it's not something that's fake. So I'm fine with authentics on 1-on-1s, definitely.
Something also to keep in mind, and I don't know why this happens with Immaculate, but Immaculate cards come out the packs or come out the box more damage than any other card. Like if you look at the eye blacks, the eye black Mahomes, super damaged cards. Immaculate, very, very low grade. It's very difficult to get good grades on that card for whatever reason. I can't understand. So also something to kind of keep in mind.
So Mahomes is one of the 2 top decliners from the week that we haven't mentioned yet. Do you want to bring that one up because you're Mahomes? That's what you had there, right? How much was down?
That was down 28%, 27%.
Right. And the last one is Glaber, which by the way is totally earned, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down even more. He's had a bad year. He has gotten cold as the Yankees got cold, and the Yankees have brought up a couple of middle infielders from their farm system recently who are playing well and who are big prospects. And Glaber is losing playing time to these guys. So
can I tell you what's surprising to me?
True.
How has there not been a huge Judge card IPO on Collectable?
I don't know. It's a good question. Judge is hot. People are definitely, maybe they'll go out and they'll grab a Judge rookie card in a thick acetate grading slab. Is it tag? It's thick acetate. I mean, it's like
Tags.
see-through, right?
Tags.
Tag. You're in. No?
Tags. Grading slab.
Tag. Thick acetate grading. That's what it stands for. Obviously, gotta be. It's like see-through.
Can you stop trolling people? Let people live.
I mean, you brought him up.
In a positive light. I like competition. I like new people joining the space. I like new companies trying.
You love
new
them.
stuff.
You brought him up. At least tell me what TAG stands for.
It's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. I want to know.
What I think was cool
and
is
message them right now and get the game of tag going.
That's a great idea.
Yep, I mean, that's it.
Last episode before basically football season starts, I do imagine I remember this statement this like saying from Wall Street. It's like sell in May, go away, right? You've heard that maybe before. Yep. It's just the summer months are always dry. Like there's not as much going on. People on vacation. There's not putting their money in the stock market. Honestly, for a lot of people like me, when you have too much at risk, you can't sleep well. So people pull money. I imagine September to December will be a little bit more active on the platform. I have to guess that.
Okay. I mean, works for me. The last one is down we talked about. How about some IPOs? Anything else out there? We talked about the mantle, right? We talked about, what happened with that one. I will talk about last week we also mentioned the Babe Ruth game used bat. Mm-hmm. That did a huge number, right? $1.6 million. It didn't get another bid after we talked about it. There's a Joe DiMaggio bat. It's not Ruth. It's very different. But Joe DiMaggio bat's at $65,000 as opposed to $1.6 million. That was up slightly this week. A weird
guys. I don't know if you remember. Cage mentioned this. A lot of these guys used to burn their bats. Like these were memorabilia was not a thing back then. So the supply, the pop on these is going to be very low. And I don't know if it's caught on 100%, but PSA does have a registry for this, which is huge for things to be like an asset class,
Couple of other fun ones, right? We mentioned this before, the 48 Leaf Babe Ruth, which is well after his playing days. Okay, well after his playing days. It's an SGC 8 on Collectable, but it's a PWCC A. We talked about this as being one of the nicer ones. Remember, there was a PSA 8 that sold, and this was down to $42,000 a week, down 12%. Even though the same Heritage auction that had the mantle had a PSA 9, which obviously PSA 9, SGC 8, clearly a different card, but this is a nice SGC 8, good for the grade, eye appeal, you name it. That PSA 9 went for $540,000. So it went for like 13 times the price of what the SGC 8 in PWCCA is at, $42,000. That's a huge discrepancy. Obviously, there's not many 9s, and that's part of the reason why it's sold for. But it's just one to take a look at. Also, Gretzky, right? There was a Gretzky O-Pee-Chee 9, in addition to the PSA 10 tops that sold for 1.2 or something like that. There was an there was an O-Pee-Chee PSA 9 that sold for $132,000, which is, that's a good sale. It's definitely higher than the 113.9 that the collectible one is valued at. That was down 2.5%. It's lower than most of the recent comps. Just one to look at.
I think that card, just like a hunch, is I think that card is never going to fall below 100.
Yeah,
but it's never going to go above 2. Not in the next decade. There's not enough demand, in my opinion, to push it forward. Like there's always going to be those buyers for like the best one, but I think that next
significantly lower pop on that than like the Jordan Fleer and that stuff. But you also significantly less demand. Yeah,
the 9.
Yeah,
but it's split, right? Because there's still OPG 9s and Tops 9s.
That's true. Very good point. Well, the Tops does sell for a lot less. Also, one of the items that I was looking at in that Heritage auction, there was a game-used Michael Jordan bat. It had amazing provenance. It was, there are not many Birmingham Barons like used bats that were used. This is given to like the equipment manager. It had real game use on. Like it was definitely clear. It was a 9.5, went for $60,000. There's a game-used Jordan bat on Collectable that's a game-used 7, which means it doesn't have the same type of game use provenance, the same type of game use evidence on the bat, but it's significantly lower price.
Just real quick, so like when they're grading the bats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have experience? I don't want to ask you questions.
I've researched this.
How are you going to grade a bat? Like you want it more used, right?
That's not what it means. It's about the evidence of actual use by the player. So you can actually have like a GU bat, game use 6, that they don't know whether or not it was actually used by that player.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's so the 6 is like it's 60% chance that this was used by a player. 70.
Yeah. So I mean, you'd have to take a look at it like a 10. It's about the documentation, right? So the 10, it's fully documented, or there's some great player characteristics. Like for example, Babe Ruth used bats. He swung and hit with the bottom side of the bat, like the back side of the bat's where all the stuff is going to be. So not the trademark side of the bat. So they can tell when when it's a real game use Babe Ruth bat from where the game use is on the bat. That's a player documentation. He would also notch some of his bats for home runs that he would do, right? There were actually notches on the bat. So a Babe Ruth bat that has the notches on it is actually for some of the home runs that he would hit over certain years. So that's a player characteristic. No, but that allows something to go higher up the game use rank because it is a documented extraordinary player characteristic, like a knob, the bat knob having the player's number on it in the specific type of number that the way that it was numbered by either the clubhouse or the way that it would be. You'd have to have that. A 9 is going to have similar to 10, but it's got to match factory records. It's got identifiable player characteristics. It's going to have medium to heavy use. Hopefully some provenance, some documentation, you name it. The 8 is going to be, it's got to match factory records, so they can go back, depending on how old it is, to even before Louisville Slugger. That's the Hillerich and Brad that we talked about, the H&B bats. There are other types of bats out there. We talked about the one that we saw at National, the green one that I showed you.
You were like, it can't be.
I was like, can't be that. Yeah, exactly. It's got to have some minimum use. They will allow in 8s like team ordered and index bats as long as the model number, and they'll match up the length and weight. They have order records for these guys. They know, Ruth used different lengths, different weights at different times in his career when they were ordered. They can actually, tell you when these things were ordered. A 7 also, same factory records, player characteristics, some cracks. Ready for the 6. It's got to match factory records. It's got to have some identifiable player characteristics and at least light use in it. There could be cracks, repairs. Team ordered and index bats may qualify provided the model number and matching length and weight specifications appear on the team record. Bats used by 2 players, identified by the appearance of 2 numbers on the knob or identifiable player characteristics, will fall under this grade. Bats? Because back then they did. There's a Don Mattingly one that I know that is used by him that wasn't his bat. You break a bat, you could use somebody else's bat, like the Savoy Special instead of the Naturals Wonder Boy when his Wonder Boy broke. It could be. In the event the bat can be identified as being used exclusively by a player other than the player whose name appears on the barrel, by virtue of exceptional player, it may qualify for a higher grade but never exceed game use 8. So you can have one they know it was used, but it's not his bat. Can't go higher than an 8. A 5 can match factory records, have some player characteristics, and may even exhibit no evidence of use. It's a game-ready bat that did not see action. Team order index bats may qualify, provided the model number is there. So that's considered game-used 5, even though they're saying right there in the description, it's most likely exhibiting no evidence of use.
That's game the equivalent of the current patches we're buying, guys.
Game use 4, factory records, no player characteristics, and either inconsistent use or no evidence of use. That's still considered game use, like PSA DNA GU4. Anyway, so it's all on their website. You could take a look at it. It's a fun thing. I only bring it up because the DiMaggio is significantly lower, but obviously DiMaggio is lower in the GOAT list, Mount Rushmore.
Can I take this heady real quick? So you remember the game Sonic?
Mm-hmm.
Hedgehog?
Of course.
You know how you have to go up a level and then you go up a level.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're like, how do I beat this level? You struggle, you die, you go again. You asked me what I think of the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
The hobby's not going anywhere, man. And it's the hobby's one way to it's history. It's sports history is what we're doing. And then we invest in it. And people love history. People love sports. Mm-hmm. So what I would urge people is realize that there's layers to this history. And
levels like in Sonic.
There's levels like in Sonic.
Many subtle levels.
And most people here have jobs. They have other lives. You could learn this stuff in parallel. Don't feel like Don't feel that you're behind ever.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're overwhelmed with new stuff, that's part of the process. Understand that you're learning something new. And when you conquer it, you move to that next level and you have to beat it again, right? Remember?
What was your favorite level? You know
The
what my
current
favorite
one.
level of Sonic one was? This is the game Sonic. Remember when he had to fight those tiny albino goblins? Tag. Tiny albino goblins. And that's another episode, Luca Nation. We'll see you
Such a
tomorrow.
doofus. So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mai. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com, or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.